Exposed. After 500 guests witnessed her humiliation, she discovered an incredible 10 Rolls-Royce. Claire stood at the entrance of the gala, her heart thudding like a drum. The twinkling chandeliers and gilded decor felt like a foreign language. She might as well have been in a play, acting the role of a confident socialite, when inside, she felt like an uninvited guest crashing an extravagant party. It wasn't long before her childhood rival, now a glossy socialite with a smile as cold as ice, spotted her. "Look who made it! The waitress thinks she's one of us!" Laughter erupted from the crowd, a stinging arrow to her heart. Humiliation washed over her, setting her cheeks aflame. Shattered and desperate, she fled the gala and out into the night, leaving behind the glittering facade of wealth. She felt the damp air chill her skin. Claire knew she should feel ashamed, but instead, all she felt was an overwhelming desire to escape. Escape the judgment, the laughter, even the idea that she had to prove something to anyone. That's when she stumbled upon the old warehouse, its broken windows framed by ivy, as if nature was reclaiming what time had forgotten. Curiosity piqued, she ventured inside. The musty smell was heavy, and as her eyes adjusted, they widened at the sight before her. Vintage cars, 10 magnificent Rolls-Royces hidden away like gems beneath layers of dust and history. Shock coursed through her. This was her grandfather's legacy, a treasure trove of perseverance and grit. Memories flooded back. Her grandfather tirelessly working on these classics, a man who had built something out of nothing. "Mom, look at this!" Lily's voice broke through her thoughts as she darted between the gleaming lines of metal. They shared a spark of excitement, igniting a connection deeper than she could have imagined. Together, they dove headfirst into the task of restoration. The oily residue on her hands paired perfectly with the laughter of her daughter, turning their days into something golden, something bright. With every buffed chrome and every tightened screw, they discovered tales buried in the fabric of their family, the struggle, the sacrifices, the love. One car had a dented hood, and as Lily listened to Claire recount how her grandfather had once taken a hit to ensure family meals, she learned resilience wasn't just a word, it was a way of life. As they prepared for the public showing of their restored beauties, doubt crept in. Would the townspeople, who had jeered just weeks earlier, embrace her family's story? The stakes felt impossibly high. This wasn't just about cars. It was about standing tall in a community that had at times felt so far from her reach. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Now, as Claire stood before the 10 restored Rolls-Royces, anxiety danced in her chest. Would they see her as the waitress who stumbled, or would they grasp the deeper message behind those glistening cars? The crowd gathered, their faces obscured shadows, leaving Claire teetering on the edge of hope. This was not the end. It was simply the beginning. Would they embrace her story, or would she remain the outsider, forever trying to break in? The day of the unveiling arrived, with the sun peeking through the clouds, casting a hopeful glow over the town square. Claire paced in the cramped back room of her makeshift display, her fingers brushing against the polished surfaces of the cars. Each one reminded her of the labor and love she and Lily had poured into making them beautiful again. But as the sounds of chatter thrummed in the air, nerves twisted in her stomach like a coiled spring. "Mom, they're coming!" Lily chirped, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Her daughter's enthusiasm was infectious, easing some of Claire's anxiety. She watched as the crowd streamed in, some familiar faces, others completely unknown. Doubts clawed at her mind. Would they remember her humiliation? Would they see past the laughter and gossip to appreciate the story and spirit she had aimed to share? The cars gleamed in the sunlight, historic symbols of her family's hardship, yet she couldn't shake the feeling of vulnerability. What if they found her foolish for thinking she could reclaim her place in this town? Would they scoff at her efforts? The murmurs began slowly, drifting from one person to another as they gathered around the first car. Claire held her breath, straining to catch snippets of conversation, each word hanging in the air like a fragile crystal. There were whispers of admiration, discussions about the craftsmanship. Claire's heart fluttered, a tiny ember of hope igniting within her. Then someone stepped forward, a tall man with salt and pepper hair and an air of authority. Claire recognized him as Mr. Halstead, the wealthy businessman who once held the power to decide the fate of families. Claire braced herself, wondering if this encounter would turn sour. "Did you really restore these all by yourselves?" Mr. Halstead's voice was steady, holding a weight that made Claire's heart skip a beat. "Yes," Claire replied, her voice steady but shaking with uncertainty. "My daughter and I found them hidden away and we brought them back to life." He walked slowly around the vehicles, nodding at each one, then turned back to Claire. "These cars tell a story, and you're the one sharing it. That's remarkable." His words felt like a balm to her spirit, warming her from the inside out. Lily beamed up at Claire, pride radiating off her small frame. The momentary affirmation sparked a wave of strength in Claire, pushing her to step forward. She spoke of her grandfather, of how each car encapsulated years of determination, love, and family ties. The crowd began to lean in, their faces softening, expressions shifting from skepticism to interest. Then, out of the corner of her eye, Claire caught a glimpse of someone she recognized from the gala. It was her rival, standing towards the back, arms crossed, a smirk firmly planted on her lips. That smile sent daggers through Claire's newfound confidence. Just as she felt a surge of possibility, the weight of negativity crashed down like a heavy cloak. But this time was different. She had her daughter at her side, and the past no longer had the power to define her. Taking a deep breath, Claire locked eyes with her rival for just a moment before pivoting back to the enthusiastic crowd. She could feel the air shift, curiosity mingled with anticipation. As she opened her arms wide, inviting the townspeople to come closer, an unanticipated wave of applause erupted. The sound echoed in her ears, drowning out the derision from the past. For once, Claire felt solid ground beneath her feet. But the biggest surprise was yet to come. Just as Claire began to relax, she noticed a figure lurking at the entrance. Someone approached with a familiar gait and a hesitant smile. Was it possible? "Claire!" the voice called gently, breaking the tension that had been wrapping around her heart. Her breath hitched as the realization dawned. This was exactly what she'd wanted to avoid. Could this really be happening? Claire turned slowly, her heart thudding loudly in her chest. There, standing just a few feet away, was Michael, her first love, the boy who had left town the summer before everything had gone wrong. The years had been kind. He appeared taller, more confident, but those familiar hazel eyes still held the kindness that had once made her feel invincible. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice trembling between surprise and anger. "I heard about the unveiling," he replied, stepping closer as the crowd began to melt into a distant hum. "I wanted to see what you've been up to, Claire." His tone was warm, sincere, but it didn't erase the past. Memories of their shared laughter floated in her mind, along with the sharp pain of their separation. Hadn't he moved on, left this town, and her, behind? Claire clenched her fists. A part of her wanted to run, but the other part demanded she stand her ground. As the crowd continued to chatter among themselves, Claire felt the weight of all those years pressing in on her. The whispers, the questions, and the shared history hung thick in the air like fog. "I didn't think you'd come back," she finally managed to say, trying to regain a sense of composure. Michael's gaze shifted to the cars, sparkling under the sun. "I didn't think I would either, but I heard a lot of things." He paused, looking her in the eye. "You've done something amazing here." A mix of pride and vulnerability surged through Claire. She stepped away from the display, wanting to capture that fleeting moment, an opportunity for a new beginning, perhaps. "You really think so?" "Absolutely. Restoring those cars, reclaiming their story, that takes real heart." Michael smiled, and though it felt like a warm blanket, doubt crept back into Claire's mind. Did he really believe she was capable of something like this? They stood in the moment's silence, the crowd unaware of the history unfolding just at the edge of her display. Every glance of interest, every nod of approval seemed eclipsed by the sight of Michael, the ghosts of their past swirling around them. Then, just as she felt warmth nudging her heart, Claire noticed a familiar smirk creeping back into her line of sight. Her rival, Elaine, had found her way to the front. With her arms crossed, Elaine's gaze darted between the cars and Claire, a clear intent to undermine her confidence. "Look who thinks she's some big star now," Elaine called out, laughter slipping from her lips sharp as a knife. "Restoring cars doesn't change the fact that you were humiliated at the gala. Let's be honest, Claire. Do you really think people care?" The words landed like a heavy stone, dragging her back down into the depths of her insecurities. Claire felt exposed, raw, with Michael standing there sharing in her moment of pain. But this time, there was no looking away. "Actually, Elaine," Claire responded, her voice steadier than she felt, "this isn't just about me. It's about community, history, and hope. Why dismiss that?" The crowd turned, eyes narrowing at Elaine, who faltered for a moment. Claire seized the opportunity. "The past doesn't define me anymore," she continued, glancing back at Michael. "I'm reclaiming my story, one car at a time." As the energy shifted, Claire caught the approving nods of some onlookers, their expressions mingling admiration and curiosity. Then, she noticed Michael's encouraging smile. It was like a lantern in darkness, reminding her that she was worthy of this moment. "Maybe you should come back more often," Claire said softly, her eyes locked on his. "I'd like that," Michael replied, his gaze intense. Just then, a gasp rippled through the crowd, drawing Claire's attention. A couple of townspeople were gathered around another car, pointing and whispering in disbelief. "What's happening?" Claire asked, a prickle of excitement dancing across her skin. As she moved closer, her heart raced again. What had they found? The whispers grew louder. "You won't believe it. It's a Rolls-Royce." The moment froze, her breath hitching. This could change everything. With this she could prove herself, not just to the crowd, but to herself. But then a chill coursed through her. How did that car end up hidden in her grandfather's garage? Who had placed it there? Every heartbeat thundered in her ears as she realized this unveiling was only just the beginning. The excitement rippled through the crowd like wildfire. Claire felt a taut string of hope pulling at her chest. A Rolls-Royce, hidden away in her grandfather's garage? How could that be? She pushed her way to the front, her heart pounding, breaths coming quickly. Michael followed closely, curiosity evident in his wide eyes. As they reached the car, Claire's heart sank a little. It was an unassuming shade of gray now, covered in dust, but even beneath layers of grime, she could see that it had once been magnificent. The lines were sleek, elegant, whispering stories of luxury and dreams. A car like this could redefine everything, not just for her but for the whole project. "Where did it come from?" she murmured more to herself than anyone else. Michael brushed a hand against the car's surface. "Your grandfather must have had it for ages," he said thoughtfully. "But it seems too good to be true, doesn't it? How did no one know it was here?" Claire's mind raced. She had spent countless hours sorting through her grandfather's belongings, but never once had she seen this car. She was certain of it. Was it possible he had deliberately hidden it? A flicker of anger ignited in her. He could have shared this with her if he hadn't buried himself in his own regrets after Grandma passed. "I have to call my mom," Claire declared, suddenly frantic. Maybe she could be of some help. Even if the memories didn't align, they could piece this mystery together. "Do you need help?" Michael offered, his voice warm and friendly. Her heart squeezed at the idea of involving him. She smiled, appreciating his support. "No, I'll manage. But can you keep the crowd entertained?" "Of course," he replied, his eyes brightening. His eagerness soothed Claire's racing thoughts. As she moved away, Claire could hear Michael speaking to the crowd, describing the significance of the unveiling and the beauty of restoring the forgotten. His voice floated over to her, a lifeline that tugged at her heart. With her phone in hand, she tapped her mom's number. As it rang, She paced back and forth beside the car, a whirlwind of thoughts. "Mom, you won't believe what I just found." On the other end, her mother's surprised silence felt deafening. "What do you mean, Claire?" "A Rolls-Royce. It was tucked away in Grandpa's garage, and I need to know if you had any idea it existed." The words poured out almost too fast to digest. "How could you?" "He never mentioned it," her mother stammered. Claire could sense the confusion. Just as they were about to dig deeper, her mother gasped again. "Wait! There's something I need to tell you." But before she could continue, Claire felt a tug behind her. The crowd had broken into a buzz. Just then, Elaine reappeared, arms crossed, and a triumphant grin plastered across her face. "You think this will change everything, Claire?" she sneered, clearly relishing the moment. "One dusty old car won't save you from your past." Claire turned slowly, gripping her phone tighter. "I'm not looking for saving, Elaine. I'm building something real here." The determination in her voice felt new, electric. But doubt flickered beneath her bravado. She could use this to create, to connect. But would the past ever truly let go? Michael approached, sensing the tension, and spoke softly but firmly. "You've already created something amazing. Don't let her take that from you." A warmth spread through Claire at his words, a realization dawning on her. Maybe she didn't need to prove herself to Elaine. She just needed to prove her worth to herself. As Claire searched the crowd, she caught glances of those who had come to support her. Their expressions were filled with encouragement, igniting a flicker of hope within her. But just as she began to feel steadier, a commotion erupted from the back of the crowd. "What was that?" Claire frowned, glancing back toward the noise. It grew louder, more frantic, as a voice broke through the chatter. "We've found something else." Claire's heart sank again. There might be more hidden truths beneath the surface than just the car. The moment hung heavy with anticipation. What could it be? A deeper mystery was waiting to unfold, just as she was beginning to understand her own. What else was hidden in the depths of her family's history, and would she have the courage to face whatever came next? Claire's heart pounded in her chest as she turned back to face the crowd, anticipation clawing at her insides. The murmurs grew louder, and curiosity danced in the air. What else had they found? She flashed a quick glance at Michael. He looked as intrigued as she felt, and that gave her a sense of comfort. A man stepped forward, face flushed with excitement, waving a piece of paper high above his head. "We found this with the car. It's a list of vehicles." His voice trembled with eagerness. "What? A list?" Claire's pulse quickened. Could it be? Were there really more hidden treasures? The crowd pressed in closer, the energy electric as they leaned forward. Claire felt herself being tugged into the swell of excitement. For a moment, she forgot about Elaine's presence and the looming shadows of her past. This was a breakthrough, and she couldn't help but cling to the hope blossoming in her chest. "Let's see it," someone shouted, and the man quickly unfolded the crinkled paper, revealing a scrawled list filled with names and details. Claire couldn't see it clearly from her spot, but she could hear snippets of conversation rippling through the audience. 16 vehicles? A collection? Who knew? Michael stepped closer to Claire, eyes wide. "This could change everything for you." As the crowd buzzed, Claire's thoughts raced. Could this be her moment to shine? Could this help her realize the vision she had for the community center? But, deep down, she felt a flicker of fear. What if these cars were just more remnants of her grandfather's past? What if they came with a weight she was unprepared to bear? "Everyone, please!" The voice of the man broke through her thoughts, demanding attention. He held up the list once again, reading the names with reverence. "There are 10 Rolls-Royces." Gasps erupted around her, and Claire's breath caught. 10? 10 of them? Her mind whirled at the possibility. A collection buried away and forgotten, yet still intact. But what about the stories, the memories? Did her grandfather keep them hidden for a reason? The man continued. "Some of these are valuable. Classics, rare finds. We have to get the word out. This could be a huge opportunity." As the crowd cheered, Claire felt her hopes surge again. But that same doubt slithered back in. What do I do with them? If they're valuable, should I sell them? She shivered at the thought. There was something about the cars calling to her. She could feel it in her bones. Claire? Michael's voice snapped her back to reality. This could be a chance to honor your grandfather and give back to the community. Think about what these cars could do for the center. She looked into his eyes, searching for the reassurance she needed. Could restoring the cars be more than just financial gain? Could they represent renewal, a connection to her family, and a chance to create something beautiful? Wait, she said suddenly, a new thought forming in her head. What if we did something big? A showcase event. We could reveal them all. Just as she began to formulate her plan, a cold wave of uncertainty washed over her. But before she could voice her concerns, her phone buzzed violently in her pocket. She pulled it out, her heart dropping as she looked at the screen. It was her mom again, still in disbelief over the news. Heart racing, she answered, "Mom." But before she could dive into the conversation, the man who had found the list added almost as an afterthought, "But we should check the rest of the garage. There might be more surprises." The crowd cheered again, and Claire felt a very different kind of fear knotting in her stomach. What if they unearthed things that were better left untouched? More hidden stories she wasn't ready to confront. The weight of her family's history pressed heavily upon her. With every heartbeat, she felt the stakes rising. Could she face whatever came next? What if the past didn't just stay buried? As expectations soared around her, a fresh flood of memories surged. Claire was left standing at the precipice of the unknown, grasping for the courage to leap. The crowd surged toward the garage, their enthusiasm contagious and terrifying. She was on the brink of something monumental, or perhaps something disastrous. With every step into that darkness, Claire knew she was stepping closer to a truth she might not be ready for. What would they find in the depths of that garage? What secrets were waiting to be uncovered next? Claire followed the crowd, her heart racing in sync with the collective excitement around her. The air buzzed with chatter as they approached the dark garage. She glanced at Michael, who was now beaming with anticipation, and she felt a flicker of hope once more. What if the hidden vehicles could change everything for her? The group fanned out once they reached the entrance, eager to uncover whatever lay inside. The garage doors creaked, revealing a dimly lit space filled with shadows and dust motes dancing in the beams of sunlight that filtered through the cracked walls. Claire squinted, her pulse quickening as the anticipation set in. Every whispered prayer in her mind begged for something miraculous, something that could lift the weight of her past. The man with the list stepped in first, leading the way. "Let's see what else we've got," he called, excitement ringing in his voice. Claire's nerves tensed as she stepped over the threshold. The atmosphere shifted. She felt a chill crawl down her spine, and her gut tightened with apprehension. The crowd spread out, some lifting flashlights to scan the corners of the garage. Claire stood still for a moment, frozen by the ghosts of memories that brushed against her. Those dusty walls had witnessed her childhood laughter and her grandfather's labored breaths during the long, exhausting repairs of forgotten engines. "Over here!" someone shouted, breaking her reverie. Claire turned to see a glint of chrome reflecting the light. She felt her breath hitch in her throat as her eyes adjusted. In the corner stood an old car, its vintage body tucked under a faded tarp. A nervous laugh broke through the crowd. "What do we have here?" Without thinking, Claire moved closer, her fingers reaching out to pull back the tarp. As she unveiled the car, her chest tightened. The headlights sparkled like eyes blinking awake from a deep slumber. It was a magnificent 1957 Cadillac, its curves smooth and inviting. Gasps echoed, and Claire held her breath. "This is incredible," Michael beamed, stepping beside her. "Imagine what the community could gain from this." Claire felt the excitement around her shift, amplifying the emotion swirling inside her. "But do we really want to dig this up?" she said, her voice barely above a whisper. What stories lay attached to this vehicle? What memories were too painful to bear? "Hey," Michael said softly, sensing her hesitation. "This could be your chance to bring everyone together, to show them your vision for the center." Just then, the man from earlier yelled again, his voice carrying a powerful thrill. "There's more! Check this out!" Claire turned and saw a group gathered around another tarp, eagerness spilling over like a wave. The energy pulled her in, but with each step she took, dread clawed at her throat. What if the next uncovered treasure came with a cost? "Claire," Michael called, a hint of concern in his voice. She looked at him, his expression earnest. "Remember, you're not alone in this." "I know, but what if there's something we can't handle?" she replied, inhaling deeply to steady her racing heart. "Whatever it is, I'll be right here," he assured her. With a nod, Claire took a step towards the gathering. She felt like she was teetering on the edge, caught between the hope of new beginnings and the fear of buried truths. The crowd erupted in cheers again as the tarp flapped to the side, revealing yet another stunning vehicle, this one a vintage Mustang. As the crowd buzzed, she could see Michael squeezing through to the front, high on adrenaline. Claire took a step back, uncertainty tightening its grip on her heart. What were they uncovering? Each reveal was a promise of new potential for the center, but could it also mean opening the door to dark secrets her grandfather had hidden away? Tension hung thick in the air, blending with the dust, and Claire could feel her resolve slip. With every cheer, doubt crept back in, whispering ancient fears of memories best left undisturbed. What would the next unearthing reveal? Would it be a treasure, or a trick in disguise? Claire's heart raced as the cheers reverberated around her. Voices mingled with laughter, but she felt a growing heaviness pressing on her chest. Each joy felt like a balloon popping in her mind, filling the air with anxiety. She stepped back, momentarily unseen in the excitement, confusion swirling within her. The Mustang glistened beneath the lights, capturing the crowd's attention. Michael was lost in admiration, his wide smile illuminating his face, a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside Claire. She wanted to join in, to revel in the thrill, but the shadows of her past darted around the periphery, whispering warnings anchoring her in uncertainty. As the crowd surged toward the Mustang, Claire's eyes lingered on the Cadillac she had uncovered moments earlier. It felt alive, almost as if it were beckoning to her, filled with coded messages of her history. Memories of late nights spent with her grandfather, rustling leaves in the wind, and the smell of motor oil and gasoline floated up. Tender images intertwined with hints of sorrow. That car had played a part in her family's story. What did it mean to pull it back into the light? "Let's see if it's just as shiny underneath," someone shouted, drawing Claire's focus back to the present. The crowd murmured in agreement, light hearts unaware of the weight pressing on Claire's shoulders. Biting her lip, Claire stepped back toward the Cadillac, allowing the noise to fade. She brushed her fingers across the surface, feeling the cool, smooth metal against her skin as nostalgia enveloped her. It was more than a car. It was a portal to long-held secrets. As she touched it, she could hear her grandfather's voice, a mix of confidence and weariness, reminding her of the dreams he had for this community, and for her. "I can't do this alone," she whispered to the vehicle. The answer came in the distance, the passionate voices of the crowd urging each other to uncover more. It felt like a challenge ringing in her ears, urging her to dig deeper, to confront whatever lay beneath. "Claire, you've got to check this out." Michael's face appeared in the swarm, the excitement etched into his features, making her instinctively soften. He wasn't just enthusiastic about the cars. He believed in this. In her. I don't know if I can," she stuttered. Not just about the cars, but everything. The pressure of her past weighed on her, a shadow she couldn't shake. "We can do this together," he replied, the sincerity in his tone washing over her. "This isn't just about the cars or the past. It's about bringing everyone together and moving forward." Claire's heart ached. The choice rested heavily on her shoulders. Could she really expose herself to her community like this? Could she bear to face whatever truths lay within those vehicles? Taking a deep breath, she looked beyond Michael and the gathering crowd. Those faces looked up to her, brimming with hope and excitement. They were depending on her vision for the center, a place where voices would blend as harmoniously as engines humming. Could the cars be the bridge to open a dialogue about memories, loss, and courage? As she stepped forward, Claire felt the stirrings of determination. She wouldn't shy away from the uncertainty any longer. "Okay, let's do this." The cheers erupted again, celebration filling the air. Claire turned towards the Mustang and joined Michael amid the frenzy. Maybe this was a start, one where old stories could pave the path to new beginnings. She felt electricity run through her veins, her past propelling her into a future she was finally ready to embrace. Just as their laughter mingled with the crowd, a low rumble echoed from the back of the garage, silencing everyone. The shifting shadows beckoned anew as the source of the sound revealed itself, hidden away in the darkness. What else lay beneath the surface? What could be exposed that would change everything once again? The low rumble grew louder, drawing the attention of the crowd as they shifted from the glimmering Mustang. Claire's heart pounded in her chest, a mix of curiosity and dread swirling in the pit of her stomach. What could emerge from the shadows? A moment later, a figure stepped forward, silhouetted against the backdrop of the dim garage lights. Claire squinted, trying to make sense of the scene unfolding before her. The figure was holding a flashlight, illuminating an imposing shape behind him, the unmistakable contours of what appeared to be a classic car. "Gather around, everyone! You're not gonna believe what's back here!" the figure shouted, and the crowd buzzed with anticipation, shifting to form a tight circle around the source of the noise. Claire was torn, a voice in her mind urging her to step forward, while another whispered to retreat. She glanced at Michael, who watched her with an encouraging smile, his enthusiasm a beacon in the gloom. Stepping closer, she caught glimpses of luxurious chrome and the long, graceful lines of what seemed to be multiple vintage Rolls-Royces. Her heart raced at the sight. Her grandfather had spoken about these cars with such reverence, their beauty symbolizing a kind of wealth and stability he once dreamed of having. "Keep your hands to yourselves," said the figure, breaking the murmur of the crowd. "But the possibilities, we've got a piece of history here." The excitement swept through the gathering like wildfire. People whispered, hands gesturing animatedly as they speculated about the circumstances which had kept these gems hidden. Claire couldn't help but wonder, what other secrets lay hidden beneath the dust and shadows? "Wow, they must be worth a fortune," someone commented, eyes wide with disbelief. Claire felt her stomach twist. True, they were beautiful, but there was also a flicker of dread. Would the reveal of this unexpected treasure change everything? Would it expose her family's buried feelings about the past? Should we have a vote? Should we restore them? Another voice chimed in, growing bolder with each word. The crowd was alive now, the energy palpable. They were thinking beyond the cars themselves, envisioning a project that could knit the community together. But Claire felt her heart dip, a weight settling back onto her chest. The Cadillac was already a bridge for her, a link that could spark conversations about her family's legacy. How could she bear the burden of these newly uncovered Rolls-Royces, which could so easily eclipse her own history? "Claire," Michael's voice pulled her from her reverie, concern etched into his features. "You okay?" I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "What if this all turns into a competition? What if I can't meet everyone's expectations?" He stepped closer, his tone soothing yet firm. "It's not a competition. This isn't about cars or value. It's about heart. It's about connecting. Your story with the Cadillac matters, just as much as these Rolls-Royces, maybe even more." Claire searched his eyes, feeling the rawness of the moment. When the crowd began to press closer, eager to touch and inspect the finds, she felt her own voice falter amidst the noise. This was bigger than cars. It was about walking into an unknown future while embracing the weight of her past. Suddenly, the figure holding the flashlight called out again, "But wait, there's more!" The excitement in the air hit her like an electric storm, just as the figure revealed an envelope dangling from his pocket, the words, "History," written boldly across it. What could that mean? Claire thought, a shiver racing down her spine. What was hidden inside that envelope? What history was waiting to be uncovered that might change everything Claire believed about herself and her community? The murmurs of the crowd pulsed through the garage like a living thing, anticipation hanging in the air thick enough to cut. Claire's heart thudded wildly as she watched the figure shake the envelope. It swayed invitingly, teasing the crowd with secrets untold. "What's in it?" someone yelled from the back, the eagerness in their voice drawing every eye back to the center. The flashlight beam danced across the envelope's surface, glinting off the paper as the figure grinned, clearly loving the moment. "This right here," he called out, "could tell us who these beauties belong to. Or maybe, why they ended up here in the dark." Claire's mind spiraled as she considered what that information might unlock. Would it reveal details of her grandfather's dreams? Would the stories entwine with her own and strip her anxieties bare? The thought brought both thrill and trepidation, a clash that made her stomach turn. "Can you believe it?" Michael leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear. "We might find out the whole history of these cars. Just imagine what they could teach us." But Claire felt a sharp pang of fear. "What if it's not what we expect?" she whispered back, glancing at the crowd. Each person seemed so alive with hope, while her own heart felt like an anchor, heavy and stifling. The figure gestured for silence, a dramatic pause palpable. "Now, let's see what's inside. I can feel the excitement already." With a swift movement, he tore the envelope open, lifting out a stack of aged papers. The crowd collectively inhaled, eyes as wide as saucers, fingers twitching with curiosity. It felt like the moment of revelation was knocking on the door, waiting to burst through. As he fanned the pages, a wave of history seemed to wash over the room. Names and dates spilled out, stories etched in ink that spoke of lives long past. Claire leaned in, her pulse quickening, trying to catch a glimpse. "Here!" the figure exclaimed, lifting a particular page for everyone to see. "This one's from 1952, detailing the acquisition of these Rolls-Royces by a local collector." Claire squinted, her heart racing as she recognized her grandfather's name amongst the others. Her breath caught in her throat, reality colliding with the long-held myths she had heard. Could this be the breakthrough she'd been hoping for? But then another name caught her eye, a name she never expected to see tied to her family history. A figure scribbled in elegant cursive, once prestigious, yet cloaked in shadows, whispered unsettling memories. "Wait," Claire said out loud, the gears of her mind grinding. "What does that mean? Why is he connected to them?" Gasps rippled through the crowd as her voice broke through the upbeat chatter, wresting attention back to her. She felt their eyes shift to her, questioning, waiting for an answer she didn't have. Each gaze felt like an accusation. "What do you know that we don't?" Michael's hand found hers, squeezing gently, grounding her. "You've got this," he whispered. "You can face this." Tension balled up inside her, threatening to spill over. Could facing this history heal her and her family? Or would it crack open old wounds that were better left buried? "Let's dig deeper into this," the figure said, enthusiasm bubbling. "Who knows what else we'll uncover that ties our stories together?" The weight of collective curiosity pressed down, and Claire stood at the brink of a decision. She could step forward, risk it all, and reveal her familial ties, or retreat, hiding from the past that now appeared intertwined with her present. A myriad of eyes awaited her response, each one tinged with hope, but also wariness about what that history might hold. What would she choose to do next? Would she step into the light, or vanish back into the shadows? Just as she was about to say something, a faint whisper trailed from the back of the crowd. "I heard rumors of a hidden document. Something that could change everything." Claire's breath caught again. What could that document contain? And would it unravel the delicate thread that tied her family to the past? As Claire heard that whisper, her heart raced anew, electricity zipping through her. The murmurs of the crowd intensified, growing like a palpable force, pushing her towards the unknown and igniting an urge to dive deeper. The potential for revelation shimmered before her like a beacon in the darkness. "What hidden document?" Claire called out, her own voice rising above the clamor, urgency threading through her words. The crowd leaned closer, drawn in by her inquiry. Hopeful faces lightened and shadows flickered. She could feel that they were all in this together now, not just a group of townsfolk but a community on the precipice of discovery. A woman stepped forward, something powerful in her gaze. Her trembling hands fought against her nervousness as she spoke. "My grandfather mentioned a ledger, something that details the origins of the Rolls-Royces and the man who brought them to this town. He called it a legacy of pride. Claire's mind swirled. A ledger? The possibilities swarmed around her like buzzing bees. What could be in that document? What history was waiting to be uncovered? "Where is it?" came a voice from the crowd. I'm not sure," she admitted, glancing back at Michael for reassurance. "But if it exists, it could tell us everything." A wave of determination coursed through her. Finally, she could confront the ghosts that haunted her family and her past. It was time to reclaim the narrative. "If anyone can help uncover this legacy, it's us," Michael chimed in, and Claire felt the warmth of his encouragement wash over her. Her fears began to lose their grip. "Let's split up," the figure called out again. Enthusiasm sparked amongst the crowd. "We'll search the town for this ledger. Together, we can piece together the truth of their story and celebrate it." Claire felt something shift in her chest, a sense of unwavering unity. This was no longer just about her redemption, but a chance for everyone to reclaim their connections to the past. "All right, let's do it," she cried, her voice ringing with newfound fervor. The crowd surged forward, powered by excitement, and Claire found herself at the forefront, leading a charge toward an uncertain future. Her heart swelled at the realization that she didn't have to navigate this journey alone. As they split into teams, Claire felt an electrifying mixture of fear and exhilaration. "What if we don't find it?" she whispered to Michael as they dodged between buildings. "We will," he replied confidently. "And even if we don't, we're already uncovering a stronger sense of who we are." Before she could respond, a shout rang out from behind them. A man waved, panting, but with an expression aflame with urgency. "I found something!" Claire's heart skipped as the crowd regrouped and huddled around the man. He held up a weathered box, dust and age clinging to its surface. Could this be the key? With trembling hands, Claire approached, and the crowd fell silent. "What is it?" she inquired, barely containing her excitement. "Letters. Documents from your grandfather." The man pried open the box, and faded paper spills wrapped in twine lay inside, stained by time yet still holding whispers of the past. Claire's breath caught in her throat. "Let's see," she urged, the words escaping her hurriedly as they gathered around the box. As the letters unraveled, her lips quivered with anticipation. Words began to emerge, stories of battles won and lost, family ties stretched, and vibrant friendships written into the page's fabric. Claire felt her grandfather's essence alive in those letters, his spirit echoing through time. The voices of her community flowed around her like a gentle river. They read together, piecing together stories and forgiving the past. Laughter and tears mingled in the air, creating a tapestry of unity that brought them all closer. "I wouldn't be here without the choices made," she whispered, her heart swelling with realization. "Our histories connect us, strengthen us." The figure from before lifted a letter high in the air and called out, "Look! This one describes the ambitions he had for the center, a place to celebrate community." The words buzzed through Claire. Hope rippled within her, branching out like the petals of a flower bursting into bloom. This was meant to be revealed, to unite us, she realized deeply. Just then, Elaine stepped forward cautiously, her expression softer. I didn't know," she admitted, vulnerability weaving into her tone. "I thought I understood, but I see now that this is bigger than any rivalry." Claire smiled, warmth spreading through her. "We can rewrite the stories together if we choose." As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting golden hues across the full town square, Claire stood with her community, feeling a shift in the air. They now shared an understanding that transcended the echoes of their individual narratives, woven together into one powerful story. Standing there, Claire finally felt free, her heart hollowed out the old pains only to fill with love, connection, and resilience. This was the future she'd envisioned, the community center, more than just a space, but a sanctuary of shared legacies. One by one they began to lift their voices, united in hope, the past no longer a weight but a triumph fueling them forward. This was it. This was just the beginning. "Let's honor our history," someone shouted, and an overwhelming cheer erupted. The clouds parted, revealing a glowing bright sky, a harbinger of what was to come. Together they would reclaim the future and build a sanctuary for every story waiting to be told. Now is the moment to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show how much you care about this journey. I want to hear your thoughts, so comment your reactions and feelings about this heartfelt ending. And don't wait, not even one more second, to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to discover this transformation. Only true fans understand how vital it is to support the channel through these actions. Let's keep pushing forward together.